Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're looking in Book 3, Chapter 3 of 3, so 3 of 3, right? The 3 of 3, which now he's going on the question of deliberation. He raised the question of choice, last chapter what choice was, and now he's tying the question of deliberation. He ended on the question of what choice perhaps deals with the question of some things that we deliberate on, right? So he starts it off. Do people deliberate about all things and is everything an object of deliberation? Or about some things there is no deliberation? The first question. Do people deliberate all things and everything is an object of deliberation, or are there some things there is no deliberation? Perhaps it must be said that an object of deliberation is not something that is foolish or a mad person would deliberate about, but rather something a person with sense would deliberate about. Now, sense here is literally nous again. This is it seems to be translating sense of intellect, of nous would, or it's not something a person foolish or mad. It's rather something a person with sense or nous, intellect, intelligence. Intelligence is a German translation of nous. That means this is an understanding. Understanding. Maybe that's what I can understand. Knowing. Kind of, it is a norm. Nous is an ultimate knowing. It's a knowing about the arche, right? So therefore, it's the precise meaning of it is this knowing about the arche or first principles, but it's also referred in a kind of everyday sense. Just someone who knows, good sense, right? We would. I mean, this is. I think the problem here is to say common sense, right? But this is it's about yes. We maybe could see common sense as a form of this everyday sense. The text is addressing it in this sense of having knowledge, but not knowledge, but understanding about something, right? Therefore, a person with understanding would deliberate about it, right? So it's not about what a mad person or a foolish person would, but someone who has there's some knowledge or understanding about the thing. And in other words, and about eternal things, no one deliberates. For example, about the cosmos, or about the fact that the diagonal or the side of a square are incompatible. Okay. Now the question is, well, wait a minute. But the cosmos, the origins of science, don't they deliberate to argue about whether the universe is eternal or that they make a choice? Well, no, it's not the same. Deliberation is tied to action here, not thought in its own thing. It is a form of reasoning and thinking, but it's deal to making a choice is about something we're doing, an act. So this is why it's concerned in that sense. We don't deliberate about the cosmos or the diagnosis. We may have arguments about it, debate about it, but it's not about we don't deliberate about it in that sense. Okay, but neither does anyone else deliberate about things that are in motion. So in other words, diagonal and the side of the square are incommensurable. But neither does anyone deliberate about things that are in motion, but that always come into being in the same ways, either from necessity or by nature, or in account of some other causes. For example, from solaces or sunrises. In other words, we don't deliberate about things. He's saying the word deliberation here, we don't deliberate about things that are like the motions of things. In other words, this is interesting that we don't deliberate about things in motion that occur because they happen all the same way at the same time. This is the realm of theoria, things that always are or are not. Okay, not things that happen to be and pass away. What is he saying here? He is saying that come into being in the same ways, whether from necessity or by nature, an account of something else, like sunrises and sunrises. Nor does anyone deliberate about things that are different at different times, for example, droughts or rains, or whether what or about what arises from chance, right? For example, the discovery of treasure. In other words, chance. So we don't deal with eternal things. We don't deal with things that are just simply they happen because of motion, or they happen or either because of necessity or by nature, right? And we don't, this physical things. We don't deliberate about that. It's interesting. We don't, but neither does anyone deliberate about things that are in motion, right? Whether they happen, in the same way, or they come but that always come into being the same way, either from necessity or chance. He says, or neither, nor does deliberate about things that are different at different times, like Roger's right, or arises from chance, right? So these are like one, two, three, four things. I think he gives four examples. One, two, three, four examples. But neither is there deliberation about every Herman concern. For example, no Lacedaemonian deliberates about how the Syrians might best govern themselves. That's interesting. That's not deliberation. We can contemplate on it. In other words, there's a difference here between thinking about something, contemplating about it. Deliberation seems to be about action and what we are to do. This is how he means this word, deliberation here. Deliberation means it's concerned us, we're doing it. We're doing it. Our choice here is about what I and us are going to do. Not what you're going to do necessarily, unless it's tied to I get to choose what you're going to do. I or us in our choice determines what you, because you're part of us, right? It is a choice about what I'm going to do. Now, what I'm going to do to you, but it is I or the thing that I'm part of that is going to do, and I'm going to be doing that, right? So therefore, this is why the example of this low Lacedaemonian deliberates about how the Scythian must govern themselves. For none of these things could come into being through us. In other words, they don't happen because we are involved. We can think, in other words, the question here we can contemplate about those things. That's the difference between contemplation and deliberation. Modern science contemplates. Political actors deliberate about what is to be done and about how to do it. The deliberation is we're going to either do it or not do it. It's some action that we're going to be doing, or policy or action, and whether it's advantage or not. The decision about whether it's advantageous or not to do this, and whether we should do this, and then doing it, how to best do it. But we do deliberate about things that are up to us and subject to action. And these are, in fact, what remains. Therefore, we deliberate about things that are up to us and subject to action. For nature, necessity, and chance seem to be causes. So nature, necessity, and chance seem to be causes. But so too are intellect and all that comes through a human being. So therefore, what are these reasons of causes? Nature, necessity, chance, intellect, and all that comes through human action. So we have five things: nature, necessity, chance, intellect. But so too are these are causes, but also intellect and the actions of human beings. When it comes to human beings, each deliberates about actions that come about through his own doing. So regarding human beings, we deliberate about what we come through our own doing, and or collective doing in that sense, right? As for those sciences marked by precision and self-sufficiency, there is no deliberation involved. In other words, things that are precise and completely self-sufficiency. This is autarkos. They're closed within themselves. I think by means self-sufficient here is autarkos means it's closed within itself. It is self-satisfying in that sense. There's nothing it has. In other words, it's precising in autarkos, right? There is no deliberation involved. For example, concerning letters, we do not doubt how one must write. Rather, we deliberate about all those things that come about through us, but that do not always do so in the same way. So they're about us, but they don't always occur in the same way. For example, what pertains to the art of medicine and money making, and we deliberate more about the art. Of piloting than about gymnastic training, insofar as the former has attained less precision. So, in other words, here's a very important point: the more precision and exactitude, the less deliberation. A techne that has great precision, there is in great. In other words, an art that lacks precision and requires more deliberation. When there is capacity for precision, then the scope of deliberation diminishes. This is what he says here. The former has attained less precision. The pilot, there is, in other words, the former here, this, is less precision than this. And further, in the case is similar with the remaining arts and sciences, right? So therefore, this is true of the other arts and sciences. The arts and sciences that are very precise, there's no deliberation in them. But more so with the arts than the sciences, for we have more doubts in the cases of the arts. Remember, the sciences, there's no going to be, it's going to be, remember, the things about science is about, when he says theoria, the theoretical, right, the theoria, the contemplation, this is something that is either true or not true. Truth is either it's true or it's false. It's true everywhere, or it's not true. Right? It's either or. It's things that are always are or not. Right? In book 6, he'll discuss this. Now, in the techne, this is a making, and because the making, things can come. The realm of praxis is the realm of the things that can come into being and fade away. Things that can be other than they are, or vary. Right? Things that are variants. So, because of this, the arts have more. In other words, in the sciences, there's going to be precision and no room for doubt. Right? There's less doubt in that sense. The precision denies this, but in the craft, there's room as our knowledge and precision of the knowledge is wide, then the scope of deliberation narrows. But when the scope of doubt increases and lack of precision, then the scope of deliberation increases. But deliberating occurs in matters that are for the most part so. In other words, but deliberating occurs in matters that are for the most part so, where it is clear how they will turn out, and in what and in which something is undetermined. In other words, so it is where it is unclear how it will turn out, in which something is undetermined, which something is undetermined. So deliberation occurs to things that are for the most part, things occur in matters that are for the most part so, where it is unclear how they will turn out, and in which something is not, it's undetermined, it's room. We also take counselors when it comes to great matters, distrusting ourselves on the grounds that we are not adequate to determine. So if we have doubt about this, right, sometimes we have to rely on others, right? We take counselors. We distrust in ourselves on the grounds that we are not adequate to determine those. So therefore, this is a form of, we take counsel. Taking counsel is a form of deliberation in a sense. You have to take their information, they do this, and then make a decision based upon counsel, right? We deliberate not about the ends, but about things conducive to the ends. Again, we don't deliberate, no, it's not about the ends, he said, but how to, deliberation is not about deciding which end we want. That's interesting. Normally we would think about that. That isn't what do we call the choice of ends? That's contemplation. That is intellectual. The choice about ends, but the advantageous of ends. The question of what is advantageous, isn't that not from the calculation? Um, this. There's something interesting here. To what degree, he says, we deliberate not about ends, not deliberate about the ends, but then we do, don't we? Well, the ultimate ends is about being happy, right? The best life. Well, we are concerned more not about, again, remember, the ultimate goal is happiness. We're not deciding about, deliberating about what happiness is. That is not deliberation. That is what? That is an argument or a reasoning, an understanding, a reasoning and an act of the intellect, not an act of action. Which actions lead you to happiness? That is a deliberation, right? That's how he would distinguish this. So it's unclear how it turned out. We also take counsel. We deliberate not about the ends, but about the things conducive to the ends. For a doctor does not deliberate about whether he is about to make someone healthy, an orator whether he is to persuade, a politician whether he is to produce good order. In fact, nobody else deliberates about the ends either. And that's how in other words, it's the doctor is, oh, I want to be healthy. That's the end. The purpose of a doctor is to make you healthy. We're not deliberate. I'm going to make you healthy or not. Okay, I may choose not to, but it's not. I don't deliberate about it, right? Deliberate is how do I make you healthy, right? Um, how to persuade, right? The orator needs to. He's not going to orator whether he is to persuade or not. No. He deliberates how he's going to persuade. How is he going to achieve persuasion? The politician does not whether he is about to produce the good orders, how to deliver the good order, right? Rather, having set down the end, they examine how and through what things it will exist. That's liberation. So liberation is not about setting the end, but rather how and through what things it will exist. And if the end in question appears to come about in several ways, they examine the easiest and most beautiful, most beautiful Cologne way to do so. So if there's many ways this can happen, which is the best way to get it? So we know happiness. There's multiple ways of happiness. There's multiple ways. The argument is what is the best way? What is the question is the um, several ways. What is the easiest and noblest way? But if it will come to But if it will come to completion only through completion through only one means, they examine how it will come about through this mean, and how this one in turn will arise through some other means, until they arrive at the first cause, which is the last, in the process of discovery. So therefore, in other words, this goal, how do you do this? In other words, the process of this thing. In other words, but if they come to completion through only one means, they will examine how it will come about through this means, and how this one in turn will arise through some other thing, until they arrive at the first cause, which is the last in the process of discovery. For he who deliberates seems to investigate and to analyze in the matter just spoken of, as he would in the case of a geometrical figure, and it appears that not every investigation is a deliberation, but for example, mathematic investigation. But every deliberation is an investigation. In other words, not every investigation involves deliberation, but every deliberation involves investigation. Semicolon. And what is last in the analysis is first in the process of coming into being. So, what is last in the analysis and analyzing something? Analyzing, in the terms of analyzing what is last, this is the first of its in the process of its coming into being. So, in other words, deliberation and investigation are kind of like, they're kind of similar, but they differ, right? Not every investigation involves deliberation, but all deliberation involves investigation. If people happen on, in other words, if people happen on something impossible, they leave it be. For example, if they need money, but it is impossible for this to be furnished. But if it appears possible, they undertake to do it. In other words, money or goods, property. The word here is kemetara. That means property or goods or property, right? If they need goods, they need something. They need property, kemetia, things. They need things, money, property, goods. But it's impossible that this is done. Well, they leave it alone. But if it appears possible, then they undertake to do it. Possible things are those that could come to be through us. For what comes to be by way of our friends is in a way through us. So not only us, but also through our friends, since the origin is in us. So it's not only the individual actor on his own, but because of our associations and friendships and relations with others is through us as well. And therefore, this is in us. It is not maybe us directly; it might be a friend, but they're my friend. I know them. I have association, and therefore, they will do this because of me, and it's through me that he does what he does. In that sense, right? Um, possible things are those that could come. Possible things are those that come through us, but what comes to be by way of our friends is in a way through us. And since the origin is in us, sometimes what is sought out are the instruments needed. In other words, sometimes things are the instruments needed, sometimes the use of them. And similarly, too, in the case of all else, sometimes what is sought out is that through which um, uh, is sought out is that through which the end will come about. Sometimes in what way or through whom it will come about. Now, Stewart points out this clause is awkward. It is not clear, for example, that the phrase "all else" refers to, or whether through whom should be translated as through what, and thus the explanation, and thus the explanatory of in that way, right? So therefore, it's an awkward clause to be read different way. Sometimes. Sometimes what is sought out are instruments needed. So the instrument, what instruments we need. Sometimes the use, how they should be used, the use of them, and similarly too in the case of all else, right? Sometimes what is sought out is through which the ends will come about, and sometimes in what way or through whom it will come about. Right? That's how he ends it. Next, it seems then, as has been said, that a human being is the origins of his actions. So the human beings are the origins of their actions in that sense. Deliberation is concerned with actions that happen through one's own doing, and the actions that are the actions that are for the sake of something else, for not the end, but rather the thing conducive to the end, which would be the object of liberation. The object of liberation is the thing that is conducive to the end. So deliberation is not about. Deliberation is not about particular facts, either, for example, whether this is a loaf of bread or whether it has been baked, as it ought to have been. For these belong to sense perception. So is this a bread? In other words, it's not a matter of sense perception. Liberation is not merely a matter of sense perception. Is it bread? Is it what it is? And has it been done correctly? Is it baked, as it ought to have been baked? That's a sense perception. It says these belong to sense. And if a person will be always deliberating about this stuff, sense perceptions, the process would go indefinitely. So it's not about, you can't, in other words, oh my God, is this really this? And if you start deliberating about whether something is what it is, then this process goes, and is it done correctly? I have a joke. I remember being in college. A guy I used to hate going shopping with him, grocery store, because he would deliberate about the whether he'd want soap. Which soap would be best? So instead of taking something that should take a minute or two to decide, less than a minute, decide what soap you're going to use, he would spend like forever. Great, he would spend. I have to deliberate. That's not deliberation. That is endless. I used to hate. I used to, you shouldn't necessarily, some things don't require deliberation. Some things is a choice. You just pick the easiest, something, you habits, things like this. What is this? The question of what is undeterminate here. Will this work or will it not work? Okay. This goes beyond attention. The object of deliberation and the object of choice are the same thing, except that the object of choice has already been determined. In other words, the choice, the end. The object of choice, the end, has been determined. For that which has been decided by deliberation is what is chosen, right? Each person ceases investigating how he will act when each person ceases investigating how he will act when he traces the origin of the action back to himself and to what it is and to what it is in himself that leads the way, since this is what he's chosen. So therefore, we have a moment here. This idea that we have a choice here. We have something that once I've determined what is I'm the person doing it, and this is tied to what I want. Doing it. That's this. So let's read this line here. He goes, the object of liberation and the object of choice are the same, except that the object of choice has already been determined. For that which has been decided by deliberation is what is chosen. Full colon, a period. Each person ceases investigation how he will act when he traces the origin of the action back to himself and to what to what it is in himself that leads the way, since this is what he chooses. He chooses this is what chooses. Right? Him, he is the one who chooses. This it is clear also from the ancient regimes which Homer portrayed. The kings used to announce to the people what they had chosen, since what is chosen is a certain longing, marked by deliberation, for something that is up to us. Choice would, in fact, be a deliberative longing for things that are up to us. For in deciding something on the basis of having deliberated upon it, we long for it in accord with our deliberation. So in other words, it's ancient regimes which Homer portrays, right? The king would announce to the people what they had chose, since the people had chosen, right? Because the king is the actor of the deliberation. Since what is chosen is a certain longing, marked by a deliberation about how to achieve that longing, right? For something that is up to us, which choice would in fact be deliberative longing for things that are up to us. For in deciding upon something on the basis of having deliberated on it, we long for it in accord with our deliberation. So, the next line. Let choice then have been spoken. Let choice then be spoken of. Thus be spoken of in outlines. So we've given an outline of choice. Both the sort of things and both the sort of things it is concerned with, and that it has to do with things conductive to ends. So therefore, choice is what? Choice is both the sort of things that it's concerned with, and that it has to do with things conductive to ends. So what both the sort of things that it's concerned with and the ends, the things that are the things that are conducive to the achieving those things, right? The ends. Well, that's it. We stop here. We finish here. We finished chapter 3 here. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below. You want any further explanations, please raise the question, and I will respond to them when I see them. If you liked what we did here, please hit the like button. It helps. More people. If you found it useful and you liked it, or you thought it was useful, helpful, you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Share it. Share this with other people. Bring it to their attention. Bring it to the attention of friends. Put it in your social media. Get it spread out there. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe so that you get the notification. It helps to grow the channel in that sense. Encourage others that you know might be interested to join us and become a member. Subscribe to the channel. Another thing is what. If you didn't like it, okay, you can always, of course, please, you can always hit the thumbs down, but say why in the comments so we can learn. People can benefit. Maybe I can be corrected. Another thing is, my God, you want to follow me on social media? The links are below. Another thing is that if you want to know more about my academic research and me as a scholar and what I do, you can look at the academic social media beneath the next links. And if you want to help me contribute to what I do, you can do so through becoming a member by contributing through Subscribe Star Patreon. The links are below there. Or you can, of course, I should have a link for it. Send me an Amazon card or something like that. You can do so. You can always find my address through my academic social media. Gives my email, I think, things like that, university email and things like that. And then the other way you can do so is by buying one of my books. Buying one of the books. If you buy the Lulu book, it's always it's the best. We buy it through Lulu. You can do so by the Lulu book, the notebook on Aristotle's Politics. You buy it through Lulu, please, because that'll get what the bookstores get. The profit of the bookstores. You buy it through Lulu. But if you don't, you still buy it through the bookstores. Online or Amazon, Barnes and Noble, whatever one, or if you want to help maintain your local bookstore, you can ask the bookstore to order a copy through you. Okay, that's it. Well, again, please. I hope you have a good day. Take care, and next time we meet, we'll look at chapter 4 in book 3. Take care.